Hello, my name is Father Eric Ritter. I'm the pastor of St. Matthew's Catholic Church, and welcome to Gospel Outlook. Well, here we are on the 21st Sunday of Ordinary Time, and we're just finishing up the beautiful John's Gospel, chapter 6, the Bread of Life discourse. As we're coming to the end, Jesus has been saying over and over, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never hunger. Whoever believes in me will never thirst. Unless you eat of my flesh and drink my blood, you shall not have life eternal. And of course, give us that bread. He says, but I am that bread. And it's a beautiful, beautiful image of what the Eucharist is for us. This confirms everything. If there's any doubt that Jesus isn't present in the Eucharist, John chapter 6, the Bread of Life discourse, helps reaffirm that Jesus is in the Eucharist. But so many people in our time still do not believe, as well as the people of Jesus' time. They just couldn't get it. They're thinking, is he talking cannibalism? He's going to give us his flesh? We don't do that. Drink his blood? That's sacrilegious. And they're all starting to leave. And it's just this powerful image here. This is now towards the end of John. This is John chapter 6, verses 60 to 69. This is at the very end. And with people were saying, we can't, it's hard to accept this. Who can accept it? And I love, as a result of this, many of the disciples returned to their former way of life and no longer accompanied him. You can imagine how disappointed Jesus was. Can you imagine? Many of them left him. They were following him for all these days and probably weeks and even months. And now they're leaving him. And you can imagine how disappointed Jesus was. And he looks at the 12. This is very powerful. And he looks at the 12 and he says, do you also want to leave? Simon Peter answered him, Master, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. We have come to believe and are convinced that you are the Holy One of God. How beautiful is that? So do you also want to leave? I can imagine how disappointed Jesus is sometimes in our own spiritual lives. That sometimes we fail to do what God is asking. We stumble. We turn our backs on God. We continue to be our sinful ways. And you can imagine how Jesus is saying, but do you love me? Of course I love you. Well, then feed my sheep. Be the person that I'm calling you to be. But it's hard. It is very hard to walk in the footsteps of Jesus, to be his disciples. And that's why so many of them left. They just didn't understand. They quite not get that about the Eucharist, but also about his teachings, that he truly is the Son of God, and that we receive him every time we receive the Eucharist, and we shall become what we have received. I can imagine Jesus asking each one of us, are you also going to leave me? And I hope that we have that profession of faith that Peter said, Lord, where else can we go? We come to believe that you are the Son of the living God. Amen.